student officios. Soraya and Aaliyah are here as well. Our superintendent, Dr. Gina Talbot. Our assistant superintendent for human resources, Mary Stevens. Our director of human, did I just say that? Assistant superintendent of curriculum instruction, Mary Stevens, sorry. Our director of human resources, Dr. Landau, and our interim assistant superintendent of finance and operations, Joe Dragon. At this point in time, could you please join the Board of Education in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this point in time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Dr. Talbot.
Good evening, President Johnson, members of the board, members of the community. Welcome to our budget session. Tonight, we will present the proposed 2026-2027 school district budget via line by line. And this budget reflects our continued commitment to fiscal responsibility, transparency, and most importantly, the educational needs of our students. Tonight, you're going to hear more about the proposed budget of $123,536,928, representing a 2.29% increase from last year's budget. You will hear student voice represented in the budget. You're going to hear a few things that are new that are proposed, an overview of expenditures, an overview of revenue, a little bit about some functions, object codes, as well as fund balance and reserves. We want to thank Mr. Joe Dragon, who has come in to responsibly pick up the budget where it was and to bring us to this point where we are today. Special thanks to the cabinet and to all who contributed to the proposed budget that you will hear tonight. Without further ado, Mr. Dragon, if you would come forward and begin to walk us through tonight's presentation.
Should I do it from here? Either way.
Would you prefer him?
Whatever makes you happy.
Whatever's comfortable. Okay, that's great.
Thank you, Dr. Talbot, members of the Board of Education. And as soon as I get the clicker, I was wondering how that was going to happen. Thank you. So I'd like to start tonight with a description of what's new in this budget so that we can have a focus on what things we're adding or proposing to add to this budget as a starting point. The first thing we're suggesting be added is membership in Reform Educational Financing Inequities Today. It's an organization that focuses on districts like Amityville that are being shortchanged in state aid. We're proposing the district clerk position be returned to full-time. We're proposing a new position of accountant, in part to prepare for the eventual retirement of our long-term and very experienced and very valuable Marianne Niblock. We are proposing that we authorize the attendance of staff members at the school business management workshop. That workshop is run by New York State ASBO, and it provides training for district clerks, payroll clerks, and business officials, treasurers, and it's a very valuable workshop to attend. We're proposing that 2 people be allowed to go next year at a cost of approximately $1,500 apiece, and that we rotate that every year so that, for example, next year there'd be a payroll clerk and the district clerk. The following year there may be somebody from human resources and the other payroll clerk, etc. We're proposing that we hire a purchasing agent. A purchasing agent would probably save us as much as the salary we're proposing by making sure that we follow all of the requirements of the law and find the best value for everything we purchase. We do not currently have a purchasing agent. Right now, the interim assistant superintendent for finance and operations is the purchasing agent, the records access officer, the deputy district clerk. And we think that it would be appropriate to get some of those responsibilities in the hands of other people. HR has told us that a new clerical staff member is required. In fact, I would point out when we get to this item in the agenda that with a new clerical staff member, we would most likely be reducing significantly the amount of overtime that is required now in the Human Resources Office. We have a whole wing at the Northwest School. I said it right the first time. That is not covered now by a night custodian. It can't be cleaned. When this happened a year ago, 2 years ago, it was discovered, it was done because we weren't using that section of the building. We've now moved classes into that building. It needs to be cleaned every night. And the way we're going about it is by hiring substitute custodians or paying people overtime. This is the more efficient and proper way to do it. The next 3 requests, I would like to thank Aaliyah and Sarai, who have given us a number of suggestions to be included in the budget. And although we wish we could include every one of them, we tried to pick the ones that they seem to express to us are the most important. It would be furniture for a meditation room at the high school, to replace the softball benches at the middle school, and to replace the FIBAR, which is the underlayment in the playground that provides the soft surface so that children don't get hurt when they fall off the equipment. On the next page, we're proposing that we hire a strategic planning partner to help us develop a strategic plan. We're proposing 2 instructional coaches, one at the elementary level and one for special education. And the purpose of these coaches would be to assist our teachers in moving our students from level 1 to level 2, or level 2 to level 3, or level 3 to level 4 on the state tests. And you will see included in your binder tonight, you will see the school report card, which demonstrates the need for this kind of leadership. We are also proposing that we add building level lead teachers at Northeast and Northwest. We now have building level lead teachers at the middle school, Park Avenue, and the high school. At the high school, we're proposing that instead of building level lead teachers, we reinstate high school department chairpersons in math, social studies, science, and what did I miss? English language arts. Thank you. We're also proposing that we add a lead teacher for guidance to assist the guidance department in meeting its obligations. And very exciting to me is the concept of a summer bridges program that we're proposing, which would be for rising kindergarten, 1st, 3rd, and 6th grade students at the elementary level, and rising 9th graders at the secondary level. The purpose of this program, I am sure Mary Stevens could talk about for several hours, but let it suffice to say that what we're proposing is a 2-week program where children could pick one of the 2 weeks to attend. And the purpose of the program would be to make sure that their academic skills are up to par so that they can enter the school on a par with the other children, number one. And number two, to provide a transition from the primary school to the elementary school, from the elementary school to the middle school.
So I have a is it okay? Can we
Yeah,
interrupt with questions or?
Whichever way you'd prefer to do it. I was going to go through the presentation and then,
Okay, go through the presentation, then I'll ask my question. Okay.
yeah, that way I'll go quicker.
Okay.
Next page. We are proposing a new special education teacher for an in-district class instead of out-of-district. This teacher would serve kindergarten children that would have otherwise needed to go out of district for the services that are required. The special education department has worked with the parents of these children, and the parents are quite excited about the possibility of having their children educated in district with all of the appropriate supports that are necessary. And we think it's the proper way to go. We also need, because of the needs expressed by children, another speech teacher. We'd be adding one more speech teacher to this budget. We are also proposing that we assign as a stipend of $2,500 each, a staff member to manage each school's website. So this would be a stipended position. It would be an existing staff member who would be paid extra to make sure that the building's website is up to date. Mr. Farkas has asked that rather than contract for the services of an athletic trainer, he would prefer to hire an athletic trainer. He feels that he'd have more control over the time. The current athletic trainer that we use is working in another school district and sometimes doesn't get to us until 4:15 in the afternoon after games have already started. So this would give us the opportunity to hire someone and set their schedule to match our needs. We also believe that there is a need to address some of the counseling, mental health, and testing needs that our children now are exhibiting. And that's why we're proposing another psychologist to work at the high school to address those needs. And finally, Mr. Farkas has asked, and we've included in this budget, the replacement of the wrestling mats at both the high school and the middle school. The wrestling mats are old, they're torn, and they just need to be replaced. So I will stop there before I go any further in the presentation so that if you have questions about those particular items, we can answer them now.
All right. So, which is let's start with page 2. Go back to being right. Yes. So there were I do have. So just going back to the accountant, the focus is in preparation for potential retirement. That was, if I heard that one correctly, correct?
Yes, we
And
think that this position would allow us to make a very smooth transition.
Okay.
The latest that I've heard from Mary Ann is that she's planning on leaving in December.
Oh, okay.
And quite frankly, Mary Ann's responsibilities are vast and complicated, and we think that we really need an accountant, not the kind of accountant that audits stuff, but an accountant who knows how to make records, journal entries, et cetera, which Mary Ann does with aplomb. And we think that we need to get that person on board now to work with Mary Ann, and eventually take over that desk.
Okay. And my second question, then I'll pass on. You said for the SBMW, that School Business Management Workshop, and proposing 2 people to attend, And you said, for example, payroll clerk. What were the other areas as well? For
They-
example, you said.
Yes, they run strands for the payroll clerks, for the district clerks, for business officials, they call it the fiscal strand. So when you go to the school business management workshop, you could choose which strand you want to attend. And then there are focused workshops in that strand for you. For example, the district clerk strand would include a FOIL session, a meetings session. What are the legal requirements of board meetings, noticing meetings, et cetera. The payroll clerk would focus on the use of Envision or WinCap, whichever financial system we're using, to make the best use of it. And I've been going to it for 30 years, and I've learned something every time I've been there.
And so if we didn't do this, how would these individuals get this knowledge?
Well, we do have what we call an institutional membership in ASBO, and we do have some workshops that people can attend online. This is a focused 3-day training, which I think is much more valuable than the 1 hour, 1.5 hour Zoom meetings.
Thank you. I'll go around go ahead.
Yeah, Joe, you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay.
All right, so replacing these softball benches at the middle school, I was not really directly involved with this, but brought it to mind. The work that we're doing to repair the fields at the high school now, is that completed? Is that gonna require any further work?
So
the next year?
we do have, we did apply the grant funds, as you know, from the last meeting when you allowed us to increase the appropriation by 61,000 something. Am I in the ballpark, Al? I'm sorry, softball field ballpark, bad joke. But we did appropriate that money, and we're expecting that we'll issue a contract to Land Tech, and they'll do that work rapidly. I hope within the next couple of weeks that will be done.
Okay, thank you. And the playground replenishment for Park Avenue, what is that surface gonna look like?
The FIBAR is, it looks like wood chips. It is a material that is made a composition of fibers and wood, and it's used as an underlayment on the playground surface. And it's, yes, please, but come up, Al, and speak
just
into
come
the
to the mic.
microphone.
Check 1, 2. So good question. So when I first got here 2 years ago, there was nothing budgeted to replenish the FIBAR at Park Avenue. And there were huge holes underneath where the slides were, where the kids jumped down, just an unsafe condition. Our custodians and groundsmen will go out with rototillers to fluff up that surface. Now, keep in mind, Park Avenue is the only elementary school that does not have the pour-in-place surfacing, the rubberized surface that we have at both Northeast and Northwest. And for equity, I've put it in the budget to get pour-in-place servicing, but we'll get to that at some point. In the interim, we still do need to budget to replace that material in there just for the safety of the children. So that's the reason it's getting put in.
Thank you. The pour-in-place floor surface that you're talking about, that's better for like students with disabilities?
It's
I believe,
100%
right?
better, absolutely. Yeah, so it's a firm rubberized surface that you can roll wheelchairs on. You can have ADA access, which we currently don't have at Park Avenue right now.
And it costs $100,000.
Just to pour that material down
Yeah.
without changing any of the existing equipment that's there? That's just for
No,
the,
it would go around that. The cost would be also the removal of the FIBAR and the railroad ties going around. I think they would expand that area a little bit, build ramps in so that you could go onto the surface, etc.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
If I may comment on that as well, Sarai or Aaliyah, you all had the opportunity to meet with the students at Park Elementary. Could you elaborate on what their request was? Do you recall?
So this was a while ago, but from my knowledge, they did not want the wood chips and they wanted the rubber. That's what was
Yeah.
conveyed to me.
Yes, you are correct. And so what we're saying is, in the meantime, to replace the combination of wood chips and, what is the other material? Combined? Fiber, to ensure that it's safe. And then the rubberized flooring is in the budget separately. Is that correct?
So I put a line item in to make Park Avenue's playground poor in place. Whether it gets approved or not, that's a different story, but this is the first time we're proposing to do it. If we don't do it, what's happened in the past is either that playground was not replenished with new material, thereby leaving those depressions in the surface. As you know, when you slide down, it's very hard. It really needs to be done every year, and probably in prior years, either it was just ignored or they pulled money someplace that wasn't accounted for, and then there would be a shortfall in the budget. So that's why it was included this year.
So this would just be to hold it over until we hopefully put that new surface down.
Well, when you say hold it over, it's something that I would assess every year to see how low,
Right.
because some years you can get away with rototilling and then re-leveling the surface,
Okay,
but this one was low, so
Okay.
that's why I made a proposal.
thank you.
You're welcome.
My next question would be for the teacher for class in district instead of out of district. What's the expected enrollment for that class?
It would be 6 students. It's a special education class.
And all 6 of those students are currently out of district?
They are currently in out-of-district pre-K programs.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I just jump in right
Yeah.
quick? What is the cost for the out of district for the 6 students for the pre-K program? Do we know?
I don't have that off the top of my head.
I know that many out-of-district programs for kindergarten students would run in the neighborhood of $30,000 to $40,000 per child. So we're talking about $250,000 cost for an out-of-district placement versus a 90,000 plus special services cost, like speech and ABA and et cetera, for in-district.
And just to add to that, this kindergarten class was a decision of the Committee on Special Education that the 6 students would be best suited for an in-district kindergarten class.
One more question. The athletic trainer, are they going to be responsible for the middle school and the high school, or just the high school?
Yeah, it would have to be, and we'd have to figure out how exactly that happens. But right now, he contracts for one person. So if the schedule is working out on a contract basis, it should work out on a person basis.
Does the athletic trainer now service the middle school also? I don't remember. They do? Okay.
No, yes. What was the answer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. You finished? All right.
Yep.
Now you.
I'm all
jumped
done.
ahead to that. No. We would, if we were going
Just
to
speak
look
closer
for,
to the
if
mic.
we were going to look for a trainer, we'd really have to get like a 3-year contract or something, not a year by year, because no one's going to take the position year by year. So that would be part of it also, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'm assuming also, we also have issues to face, like, would this person be a member of the ATA
Mhm.
or not represented? We'd have to work those things out. Dr. Lando and I have not put that bow on it yet, because we're waiting for the board to tell us yes or no, and then we'll figure out the details.
Could they be associated with the nurses?
Could be, that
Okay.
could be a possibility. Depends upon whether the ATA would claim that this person really has more of a community of interest with teachers than with nurses. That's the legal language that's used to determine which unit will represent them.
Okay. And they get paid by the hour right now, or game, or meet,
Yeah.
or,
The current contract
I don't
pays them
remember.
by the hour, right?
okay.
This
I-
person would be salaried.
I don't remember, no, that I realize. I don't remember in the budget, how much are we spending per year?
Approximately the same amount,
Okay.
maybe a little bit more.
Thank you.
One more follow-up on that. So would health benefit costs be added on top of this?
Yes, they would.
Okay, and how much would that run approximately?
Well, depending upon whether the person chooses family or individual, and depending on the unit that they're in, it could be as much as $25,000 if they choose family.
Okay, thank you.
Um, The the new building level lead teacher at Northeast and Northwest, the one that we would consider for Northeast, is there any way that the grant money could pick up the cost of that?
Which grant are you talking about, Carol?
The pre-K grant, Northeast.
Oh, the UPK. That's an
Mhm, the
interesting
UPK.
idea. Yes,
Could
we
we-
might be able to do that.
Okay.
Yes.
For at least one of them. And then instructional coach, it says elementary. So will this one person be split between 3 buildings?
Yes, that's the intent.
Okay, so my next question then would be, is it really necessary to have an instructional coach in a pre-K building as well as a building level lead teacher?
So I would ask Ms. Stevens to just elaborate on the explicit purpose of both of the coaches in terms of their targeted roles.
So in the work that we've been doing to move student achievement forward, we're focusing on subgroups. So our elementary coach would be focusing on our multilingual learners specifically to make sure that teachers are providing tier 1 interventions within the classroom that support the needs of students, particularly at that early childhood level where we have emergent bilingual or emergent multilingual learners. It's critical that we're providing support within the classroom in addition to the services that we're providing. And then we're also focusing on our special education students. So we want to make sure that our students are getting all of the support that they can get within the classroom so that teachers are having modeling. So that's why we think for all 3 buildings for the elementary and for all of our buildings for the special education.
Thank you.
Dennison, anyone?
Sure,
Okay.
me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I think it's later in the presentation, but as we go forward, everything that is identified here is what's new, and what's proposed is right up to the top of the tax cap, right?
Yeah, we could talk about the tax levy implications about it. The tax levy would be, yes, at the limit. But in order to hold it to the limit, we would need to appropriate from fund balance or use from our reserves an additional $400,000 roughly compared to what we did this year. And I have that in the presentation. I'll talk about the revenue side of the budget separately
Right.
from the expenditure side, if I may.
So what's the total that we would use from, I know you're gonna get to it, just since you just said $400,000 more than last year?
$470,832 more than we did for this year. But a total increase of 15.9%, which I will tell you right now is, in my mind, not appropriate.
Not appropriate.
Not appropriate. I
So
think we should be moving in the opposite direction.
I would agree with that. Okay, so we don't have enough revenue for what's being presented right now. I think the conversation is great, right? And adding all of these services back in and building and trying to support the students. I love the conversation. It's great to be in this position potentially as compared to the past 2 years, but I thought that I understood that from the information that we received last night, that we're still borrowing money from reserves to make this happen.
That's exactly correct.
Okay, I just wanted to understand that. I do have specific questions, just tagging on to what the other trustees are questioning. I was of the opinion to understand, and I had asked this a few times, of just what is the 2026, what do we need without anything new? And what does that look like? From like just contractual increases of salaries, and what would that look like as far as the tax increase? So I had hoped to see that. And I guess with adding new positions, and we're talking about healthcare and union, what union would they fall into? I'm going, geez, do we know that we can sustainably add these new positions in subsequent years with the negotiated contract terms, with open contract negotiations still pending for some of the units? So this is a lot of information. The first time we're seeing the proposed new positions and expenditures. I like the idea of the accountant, to be honest with you, because we've had a lot of discussion. You're here with us, Mr. Dagone, about how hard it is to fill the assistant superintendent of finance role. There was, from legal counsel, he suggested that there's other ways that districts go about it, whereas they have like a business official and they have an assistant superintendent of operations, I believe. So is this sort of like helping us to get there in having like a purchasing agent? Is the purchasing agent like similar to like a business official, or can you, no?
No, a purchasing agent is someone who's dedicated to the process of
Of
procuring
RFPs
goods.
and making sure we're
Exactly.
doing it every 3 years.
Exactly. And making sure that the goods that we do procure, if they are on a bid, that the bid has been renewed, that we look at the most economical way of procuring the best goods that we can.
Mhm.
That is a full-time job.
I
And it's
I can
now
appreciate
it's sitting in my desk, which
Mhm.
I gladly do it. But as Dr. Talbot will tell you, you're not going to find many people who stay here until midnight to do that, which is what I'm doing now.
Mhm. Okay. So the accountant that's overlapping with somebody that's projected to retire, they're not an accountant? Is that what I'm understanding currently?
Marianne Niblock is not an
But
accountant
she's
here.
essentially doing that role.
Exactly correct. She is a principal clerk, I think is her title.
Okay.
And she has 45 years of experience. And I dare say she could probably teach some accountants some things. She's taught auditors some things.
Mhm.
So, to lose that
Yep.
would be a disaster for the district.
No, the
ev-
overlap makes sense.
Yeah.
The succession planning, like I just wanted to clarify, if we had do we have an accountant or not officially?
No, we do not.
Okay. The night custodian for the second wing of Northeast, I think you said.
Yes.
We've had multiple discussions again about the overtime that we've expended this year for
Right.
custodial help. You're saying this is going to remedy that,
This would take care of a good portion
a
of
good
that.
portion of it, but
Yes.
not all of it.
Not all of it, because some of the overtime is due to snow removal, some of
Sure,
it is
the
due to other
unexpected,
buildings. Right.
understood. I'm not gonna talk about the building repair stuff because there's so much in the comprehensive. The line by line, if we're gonna get to the line by line, there's a lot of infrastructure spending already.
Yeah, if I could just, because I know that you've done your homework and you've read.
Well, I know I just an hour this afternoon, but
So let me tell you that there is a whole list of things that we would like to do. Some of them made it into the budget. Others of them are listed for your reference. We received from the architect a
Mhm.
report that shows we have $101 million worth of capital work that needs to be done. We need to address that in some way. This budget puts $680,000 into the transfer to the capital fund. It's like a drop in the bucket. But there's a whole list of things that Mr. Galina has given to me. Simple example, the high school auditorium, it needs new lighting and sound. It needs a sound board to control the lighting. We're talking about $300,000. I'm sorry, but when we have potholes in our parking lots, I'm not going to recommend to you that we do LED lighting at the high school auditorium. I'm going to recommend to you we do our parking lots first.
So I saw we had like all of the parking lots in the line by line, and I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but I would be interested in talking more about what's in the capital funding, because there were the contracts that were open that we could close and reallocating that money to, and potentially creating a small capital project rather than putting all of this in.
You're going to receive on April 15th a recommendation from us to approve a change order that would complete the first floor boys and girls gang bathrooms using the allowances that are available in the middle school project, which is something I understand you asked be prepared. We've prepared it, and we're going to recommend it to you on April 15th, and that work would be done during the summer. That would leave $75,000 in those allowances. So,
In the current job, you're saying?
yes.
But there was also other like historical jobs in the capital fund that the auditor was saying we could close and maybe put up as a proposition to reallocate that money. So I asked that last year, and I hope that we can talk about it this year, because if there's so much that needs to be done, I completely agree. Let's try to do it, especially if there's money sitting there already in capital. But should I just go? Chris went through all the pages, so I'll just keep going, I guess.
No, let's just go up to page 4,
Up,
2,
up-
3, and 4.
Two,
Yeah.
3, and 4. Oh, that's what I meant. 2,
Yeah,
3, and
okay,
4.
perfect.
Okay. The Summer Bridges program, we've talked about it prior. Is there not summer school in the proposed budget for next summer, or is there?
There's summer school in the proposed budget for the high school.
High school. Thank you. Oh, and
and,
the,
and
go ahead.
for extended school year, which is the 12-month, the extra 2 months of instruction for special needs children.
Mm-hmm. Sure. The students for the Summer Bridges program, they would be selected.
Our plan is to open it for all students moving into those grades. So it would be for the whole grade level. It would be open and they would choose to attend.
And it's set up to be able to accept everybody?
Yes.
2 weeks for each child, though, right?
1 week for
1 week.
each student. So it would run 2 1-week sessions.
Okay.
We have room for 100 students for each of the 1-week sessions. So given the fact that there are about 250 children on a grade level, I assume there will be some children who would not be able to take advantage of it. And we'd be able to accommodate the other 200 children by just selecting the right week for them to attend.
Okay, I'll stop for now.
Okay.
So
No,
we
I
can
think-
keep going.
No, I think the other thing that, and just kind of clarify this for me, what we're looking at right now in terms of new for the budget is just something that you are providing to the board. And one of the things that we can hopefully decide tonight, maybe what are these things out of the new section that possibly we want to consider after we get finished going through the line by line and the rest of the budget presentation. So,
And they're in, President Johnson, they are in the budget now.
right, but then we
So
can
if
make
you-
decisions if we
right.
want to, we can say, well, thank you so much for these new items, but we want to remove the following items from the budget. After we
Exactly.
get finished hearing everything from you
Yes,
about the
ma'am.
budget presentation. Okay.
I have a question. Is the psychologist at the high school, was that addition as a result of our presentation about like the students' needs?
Yes, Sarai. But I didn't identify it as a student initiative because we agree with you. If I identified it, I would say it's the superintendent and students together who are proposing this. All right? And thank you very much. We recognize that you're absolutely right, that we're stretched. Our mental health staff is stretched, and we really need to provide some assistance.
On that note, I would also like to emphasize the need for like guidance when it comes to post high school. So along with the psychologist, I want to advocate for students knowing what they're gonna do when they come out of here and helping them take those steps.
I think one of the ideas we have behind having a guidance lead is to take one of the counselors and have them serve as a resource for the other counselors in terms of college placement, in terms of work experience, et cetera. So that's the idea behind guidance lead.
I
Yes.
think there was one question actually that I wanted to ask, but I forgot. Maybe we can get a little bit more information about the role of a guidance lead. Like what would they be doing? If not tonight, then down the line, because it has here $4,000, a little bit more. So I'm assuming that's a stipend. So if you can provide more information
that's
about
the-
what,
That's the stipend in accordance with the ATA contract.
okay, so we can get a better, because I guess my concern is that the guidance counselors are already, I'm not going to say overwhelmed, but they have a large caseload. So
Right.
would someone who takes on responsibility as a guidance lead, would they actually have the time to do some of the things that we're hearing from the students and some things that you guys may have recognized? So that's just my question. Would there be time for that individual to actually do those things? So,
My expectation, Lisa, is that, and given the fact that the union president is not here, I can say this, that if we pay a stipend, that person will be doing some work outside of the school hours.
And just to expound a little bit, and I'm going to ask Ms. Stevens to do an extended comment. Ultimately, of course, we need a director of guidance, right, who can be really dedicated to the entire process of developing and preparing students for college and career, and utilizing the tools that would enable and empower our students to put all of that information into the hub and make themselves more marketable for colleges as well as careers. As we know, New York State is moving to one diploma. And so we are looking to provide more robust support in the area of guidance. So one of these first steps is to let's get a lead teacher who can begin to guide the processes of that in hopes that we will be able to eventually have a director so that we can have a more patterned and systemic and structured approach to giving students a larger capacity of support. And so we have heard you all. As a matter of fact, this is another step from the conversations that you all have had about the level of support that you would appreciate in the high school.
The one thing I would add to that is, as we move toward the portrait of a graduate and the seals and the changes for graduation requirements, it's an interdisciplinary approach, and there needs to be representation in the conversation from guidance. So the guidance lead would be able to help with that communication in the core content areas and focusing on how to align the seals.
Thank you. First Vice President, did you have a question?
Yes.
Hello, Mr. Dragon. How are you?
I'm very well, Mr. Leon, and how are you?
Good, good. Excuse my tardiness. I was over at the,
How was streams?
it was actually very nice.
Good.
What they
I'm
did at the
glad.
middle school.
I'm glad. I'm sorry that we're not there. Trust
So-
me, I'm very sorry that we're not there.
Okay. Well, with regards to this, I just want to take a bird's eye view, a macro look at this for a second.
Uh-huh.
So from what I understand is that from budget to budget, we're talking about a budget to budget increase. We're looking at 2.29%. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So at a presentation given to.
Can I just, one second? So I just want to just ask a question of Mr. Dagon. Are we going to go over these things?
I was planning on going
Yeah,
through
can you-
pages
Can you go
5
through those
through
items
12.
first, because we haven't done that yet, and then
Sure.
then you can ask those questions?
Sure.
I'm sorry, one,
Thank you.
it's unfair to you. You didn't know where we stopped. We stopped at page 4.
Okay.
So if I could, I'll go through 5 through 12.
And then
Sure.
Because that's exactly what I wanted to do, one. I wanted to give a bird's eye view. Some people, if you look at page 5, some people would stop at this page and say, that's enough information for me. The budget is increasing 2.29%. That's within the range of the cost of living increase. And that would be the end of the presentation. However,
So,
no-
so Mr. Dragon, just a quick question, and then
Yeah.
if I have any additional questions, I'll ask you. But I see the budget to budget as 2.29%. I don't see the tax levy.
no, you will.
He's getting there. He's getting there.
It's in the back.
The tax levy is coming, yes, it's in here, yes. So after we look at that 4-line overview of the budget showing the increase from year to year, the next page breaks that same budget down into what we call functions. There are 4 major functions in a budget. They are general support, which includes the work that I do, the work that Dr. Talbert does, the work that Mr. Galena does, the work that Dr. Lando does. Anything that starts with a 1 in the budget is general support. And you could see that that is increasing by 7.18%, and it represents 10.47% of the budget. Instruction, which is by far the largest portion of our budget, is increasing by 3.61%, and it represents 56% of our budget. Transportation is self-explanatory, and undistributed. What undistributed means is those are expenses that are not allocated to a specific function like general support or instruction, but are applied across the district. So health insurance benefits for the superintendent and health insurance benefits for the teachers and health insurance benefits for the monitors are all in what we call undistributed. So you'll see that that's a significant portion of the budget as well, about 23.25%. If you go to the next page, this is another way of dividing the budget up. Instead of by function, which really is purpose, the why of what we're spending, objects in the budget tell us what we're spending it on. The major objects of the budget are salaries, which represent 40% of this budget, and benefits, which represent 17% of this budget. Supplies and services includes tuition for students attending out-of-district schools, including charter schools. It includes BOCES services. It includes textbooks. It includes building level supplies, etc. Equipment is increasing by a significant amount, 152%, but it's really only $228,000. So it's, in terms of the overall budget, it's not a significant amount of money, but it is for equipment that we believe we desperately need. Replacement of custodial equipment that is worn out and not working anymore, etc. Interest is kind of self-explanatory, but some people get confused. We pay interest as well as earn interest. We earn interest on the money that we have available that we put in the bank, but we're also paying interest on our debt. Principal is the repayment directly of the debt. So principal and interest together are called debt service. Benefits, again, somewhat self-explanatory. It's part of the undistributed portion of the budget. By far, the largest portion of benefits is health insurance, but there are lots of other benefits that we provide to our employees. For example, we contribute to the pension system on their behalf, teachers and employees' retirement system of New York State. We provide dental insurance, life insurance, etc. And finally, transfers. We transfer money from the general fund to other funds during the course of the year. An example would be a transfer to the capital fund so that we can complete capital projects, which must be accounted for in the capital fund. The next page, if I tried to teach you about all of the objects of expense, we'd be here for days. But I thought I would select some just to give you some examples. So salaries in grades 1 through 6 represent $10.4 million of next year's budget, about 8.45%. Salaries in grades 7 through 12 represent about 12% of this budget. The cost of monitors, administrators, and supervisors, non-instructional staff, that includes custodians, clerical workers, nurses, supplies, etc. Supplies, you'll see, is significantly lower next year because I am sure that Mr. Snyder said to building principals as they started to put their budget together, sharpen your pencil. Make sure that you go into your supply closets and don't ask me to buy more pencils for you if you already have a lot of them in your closet. A big number is charter schools. The cost for charter schools for next year is projected to be $1,940,000. That's based on current enrollment in charter schools. We are already exceeding the $1.7 million that's in this year's budget. So we're projecting that that number will be higher. And I just pulled out health insurance just for the sake of letting you see what health insurance is costing us. Health insurance represents almost 10% of this budget. Now, you may say, why would it be going up only 1.78%? And the reason is because when I built the health insurance budget, I went person by person through the district and calculated the percentage that they pay for health insurance themselves and the percentage that we pay on their behalf, and found that we had appropriated more money than was necessary in the past for health insurance. Many districts do that because they don't want to be caught short at the end of the year. I'm trying to present to you a budget that is more reflective of actual expenditures. It's dangerous for me to do that because we're not going to have a $3.247 million surplus at the end of next year as a result of my shaving this line. I want you to understand that. And that's one of the reasons why I'm concerned about applying more fund balance to balance the budget. We won't be able to replicate that in the future. The next page is just to give you some idea. I know these questions have been asked in the past. This is how much money is allocated by location. Now, it's a little bit deceiving to say that it costs $3.3 million to operate Northeast, because what's not included in that Northeast number is the cost of utilities, for example, gas, oil, water, electricity, which Mr. Galena budgets on a district-wide basis and not a building-by-building basis. There's a simple reason for that. If we did it on a building-by-building basis, we would be giving you transfers every other week, every other month, because the gas costs may increase, the electric costs may decrease, et cetera, and across buildings, they would be different. So we budget it on a district-wide basis. And finally, St. Martin's. The cost at St. Martin's is for the special education teacher and the nurse that we provide. You should know that as a result of our spending $178,000 at St. Martin's on staff, we also have the ability to bill back to those school districts outside of Amityville who send their children to St. Martin's. We bill them for a pro rata portion of the services that we're providing. Remember the discussion we had last week about health services. Okay? Page 10. Here we are, Mr. Leon. So this is the revenue budget. And again, some people would look at this one page and say, that's all I need to know, and make up their mind as to whether or not they're going to vote yes or no, because the proposed property tax levy increase is 1.56%. Now, does that mean that each one of your tax bills will go up 1.56%? No, it doesn't. If you live in West Amityville, some people call it East Massapequa, I call it West Amityville, you are subject to the Nassau County base proportions, which split the taxes between homeowners and businesses differently than we do here in Suffolk County. In Suffolk County, the taxes are spread evenly across all types of property. In Nassau County, that's not the case, number one. Number two, if your neighbor files for a certification that his or her home is worth less, well, they're going to pay less in taxes, but you are going to pay more because the county is required to collect all of the taxes we ask for. And some people will have to pay more. The tax rate may be higher than 1.56% because of what we call these certs, tax certs. So the answer to your question, Mr. Leon, is yes. The levy increase is 1.56%. Now, I'd like to just for a moment tie that back to Newsday. In Newsday, the levy limit was reported as 2.23%. And that is exactly correct. And so is the 1.56%. Exactly correct. And here's how the two of them tie together. At some point in your recent past, you set the levy, Amityville, higher than would be allowed by the levy limit. You collected $474,000 approximately in taxes that the comptroller made a determination you were not allowed to collect. It was over the limit. It had something to do, forgive me, I don't know all of the details, but it had something to do with the energy performance contract that you did not approve because we were counting on the debt service from the energy performance contract to raise our levy limit. And we levied a tax in accordance with that. Then the EPC was not done, and therefore our levy limit calculation had to be adjusted to reflect that. And so we now have $474,000 that we collected that the comptroller said, you must put that in a reserve. And you must return that $474,000 to the taxpayers in the next tax year. So you'll see that the budget for property taxes is $68,011,079. But in fact, we will have $68,480,000 in revenue because of the money that we're getting from the reserve that we already have. We already have that money in district. All right. So that's how the 1.56 and the 2.23 match up with each other. The other thing I would point out on this page is the total fund balance in reserves. I'm going to show you in a moment a chart that shows the history of the use of fund balance and reserves in our district. And you will notice in that chart that there were several years in which the amount of fund balance that was applied was significantly less than $3 million a year. In fact, 2 years in a row, it was zero. Those of you who were on the board when I was last here will remember one of the objectives I had as your business official was to reduce the amount of reliance that we had on applied fund balance. Because when you apply fund balance, if you don't replenish it, the following year, you're automatically raising your taxes because you don't have it in the reserves anymore. So if you drained every one of your reserves, you might be able to go out with 0%, 1%, 1.5% tax levy increases for the next 3 or 4 years. And then when the reserves are gone, the increases will be 8%, 9%, 10%. So in good conscience, as a business official, I cannot recommend that to you. I'm going to recommend that we look really long and hard at this budget and decide which things should be in the budget or not in the budget. I would also say to you, and Megan's question was right on point, we're recommending to you what we think as a cabinet is needed. We're not recommending fluff. We're not recommending to you things that we don't think are needed to move this instructional program forward. We're not recommending that we give car allowances to everybody in the world or, cell phones to everybody every year. We're not recommending any of that stuff. We're recommending what we think is needed to move this instructional program forward. You guys have to make the tough decision. It's easy for us to say what we think is needed. You live in this place. You live in this community. You're going to have to decide for yourselves what really is needed and what you think we can do without. So that being said, I've got 2 more pages and then all the questions in the world.
Just move your slide forward.
Yes, I'm sorry. Oh, I hadn't, I said that whole thing and I hadn't slide.
That's okay.
Okay. You have it in front of you, I know. So let me move one more slide. You may ask, I think it will be a legitimate question to ask, what is this $4,824,175? Where does that come from? Because you know where state aid comes from, you know where property taxes come from, and you know where fund balance and reserves come from. But you may not know what other local revenue is. So on this page, I've given you a list of all of the items that make up local revenue, which includes pilot payments, that's payments in lieu of taxes for buildings that have been granted exemptions by the IDA, the Industrial Development Authority. Tuition we receive from other districts for students who are attending our district. Health services that we bill other districts for who send their children to St. Martin's or any other private school within our district. Interest in earnings, the interest that we earn on the money that is idle, waiting to be paid out in the form of salaries, equipment, etc. Refunds for BOCES services. BOCES is required by law to refund to us any money that they collected in the form of tuition payments that is not needed to run the program. They're not a profit-making organization, BOCES. So every year they do an analysis of all of the programs that they offer, and they decide, ooh, we collected $1 million too much in this program. Let's redistribute it back to the 18 school districts who are components of Western Suffolk BOCES. It's distributed back according to the resident weighted average daily attendance in each of the 18 districts. Prior year expenses, PYE, sometimes we get money back for expenses that we incurred in the prior year that we determined we should not have incurred. Premium on obligations, when we issue tax anticipation notes, sometimes the people who buy our notes want to resell them on the open market. And in order to do that, they sometimes give us a premium so that they could set the coupon rate higher and make it more attractive for people to buy. So the going rate on municipal bonds may be 2%. If they want to get more than 2%, they give us more money than we've asked for in the form of a premium, and then they charge the people who buy their bonds a higher rate to make it up. That's what premium is. Other unclassified revenues is things like if an organization pays us to use our gym or fields. Medicaid assistance is something that we're very focused on. Children who have special needs who are eligible for Medicaid, we can bill the Medicaid program for the occupational therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy, counseling services, etc., that they're receiving. And we get a portion of the money that Medicaid would normally pay. And finally, there's a new line, Library Bond 2024 reimbursement, because the library issued bonds, well, excuse me, we issued bonds on behalf of the library with the understanding that they would put on their tax levy the principal and interest payments of those bonds. So this year, it was $598,000 that we collected. Next year, we're expecting $712,175. Don't get too excited because the debt service is also in our budget on the expenditure side. And last but not least, the real problem with fund balance and reserves. You'll notice that you had during the 21-22 school year a brilliant business official who reduced your reliance on fund balance from $3 million to $1.4 million. And that continued in 21-22, in 22-23, 23-24. This year, 25-26, we have $2,954,000 worth of this budget being covered by our savings accounts. That's higher than the past 3 years. It's almost as high as it was when I first came here in 2021. So we've moved in the opposite direction of where I would like to be. Now, that being said, you're asking, I'm sure, well, why are you presenting a budget where we'd have to put $3.4 million up? We're hoping tonight you give us some direction as to where we need to look to make sure that we don't rely on fund balance as much. As an example, both houses of the legislature have adopted what they call one-house bills, and each of them has proposed that state aid be increased not by 1%, but by 2%. That alone would give us $310,000 more in state aid, and therefore reduce our reliance on fund balance by $310,000. If we're lucky and we get additional funds from our legislators or from the state aid formula itself, we might be able to reduce the reliance even more. But we're also asking you tonight to make a decision about the expenditure lines in this budget and let us know where it is that you disagree with our priorities so we could come back with another revised proposal on April 15th. And also, you have a meeting scheduled for April 21st, at which time you must adopt the BOCES budget, if you remember. So we really have 2 more shots at finalizing this budget. April 15th, we'll come back based on the direction you give us tonight. April 21st, we'll come back again based on the direction you give us that night. And then on April 21st, you must adopt the budget, because on April 24th, we are required to submit what's called a property tax report card. It must be submitted 24 days prior to the budget vote, and it finalizes the budget, so to speak. It tells the state, this is how much we're going to spend, this is how much we're collecting in taxes, and that's, in essence, the drop dead date. So April 21st is very fortuitous that that's the BOCES budget meeting, because it really pushes us right to the limit as to when we need to actually adopt this budget. And with that, I am done with my presentation and would be happy to answer any questions you have.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Dragone, thank you. So my question, which I was going to ask before, was about the macro view of things. A lot of it you explained very well, and I appreciate that. So according to your presentation, the property tax levy that is being proposed is 1.56%, which represents just over $1 million. Okay. In October, we were told that we were carrying over $10.6 million. At the last board meeting, you projected, and again, I'm not holding it to you, I'm not holding you to it. You projected that we would have a surplus of somewhere in the ballpark of $2 to $3 million.
$3.2 million.
$3.2 million.
Yep.
Okay. So $3.2 million and the $10.6 million. In my mind, I would think that if we wanted to, we could absorb the tax levy completely and have funds to spare. It would still be a budget to budget increase. Figuring that $10.6 million, I know you weren't here for it, represents roughly 8% of that budget that was approved by the taxpayers.
Mhm.
So there's many different opinions about this, but some people might feel that if there's a $10.6 million surplus, which represents 8% of the budget that went unused, was I overtaxed? Right? So just to bring you back up to speed, we did inquire before you were here if those funds could be returned back to the taxpayers in the form of a rebate. We did research, and because we have a unique tax system, because we fall in both Nassau and Suffolk County, Nassau had already set their levies, so we were unable to issue that back. So the next best thing in my mind would be to hold the line and give a 0% tax levy increase, which still is a very generous budget to budget increase. Your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts are that you would be headed towards a disaster. And the reason why I say that is that, yes, you can do it next year. What about 27, 28, 28, 29? When you don't have the surplus that you're projecting now. By the way, the surplus is not $10 million because you're allowed to keep 4% of the budget
In reserves.
in reserve, in unassigned fund balance. So that's $4.8 million right there. Now we're talking about the difference between the 4.8 and the 10. So it's really, and some of that money was put into reserves. So really what we're talking about is, you're absolutely correct. Any business official who wants to make a name for himself can recommend to the board, let's return all the money we've got. Let's give them back the 4%. And as I've said often, the next thing that business official does is polish his resume. Because the following year, I do not want to be here when you say to the new business official, I don't understand why a tax is going up 10%. And the reason is because you don't have the $10 million anymore. So I disagree with the thought of setting the levy at 0 on that basis alone. But let me give you more information. The $1 million levy that we're proposing be imposed next year, if not levied, will be lost not just next year, but every year thereafter for the rest of your life. This district will have a lower base by $1 million every year going forward. Not just next year, but the base on which the levy limit is calculated will be $1 million lower. Do you think I'm passionate about this? Because I will tell you, it would be a disaster, a big mistake for you to not levy at the limit this year so that you could provide the services that children need and start doing the capital work that needs to be done. If there's money left over at the end of the year, I would hope that we could take that money and put it into a capital reserve. We have one set up for $15 million. We've only put 2.5 million in it so far. Excuse me, 3.75 million in it, because last month you appropriated from the grant, the $2 million grant, 1.25 to go into it as well. So far, we've put 3.75 million into the capital reserve. The report we got from the architect says there's $100 million worth of work to be done. It
Right.
would be, in my opinion, humble opinion, it would be a mistake.
Well, hold on. So Mr. DeGrone, and I think you understand this, there will always be more work that needs to be done
Sure.
than we have funds for. The job of the architect is to generate work for themselves. That is why they're here. They want to plan, they want to design, they want us to build. It is a never-ending cycle.
If I could just gently push back a little bit.
Well,
The
I-
architect did not put the mold in the basement of the high school.
Can I?
He did not
the board?
have the supports from the high school
Okay.
collapsing.
All right. Well, anyway, Mr. Dragon, the point I was trying to make is that according to Newsday, there's also 5 other school districts that are proposing a 0% tax levy increase right now. Should those business officials polish their shoes?
I don't know, if it was Jericho, I would say no, because Jericho has a history of collecting more money than they need. And therefore, they're returning that money on an annual basis may allow them to issue a 0% levy.
So, Mr. Dragon, in that same light, I again, I'm not challenging you. I'm asking you. I'm inquiring.
I'm with you.
The way some people also feel is that we approved a budget, underspent it by roughly 8%, had a 10.6 surplus, and it covered all of our needs. Okay, we made it through. Okay. Some people might think, hey, I already paid this tax levy.
Mhm.
I already paid it last year when there was a surplus. Again, like that example of Jericho, maybe they overtaxed, now they're returning it. This could be a very similar situation where we collected more money than what we said was needed to run the district. The only fair thing, if we can't give it back to them in their pockets, is to hold the line.
All right, so I just have, and I know Megan's waiting to talk as well. Is there any, back in 2020, when for that budget, they went out for a 0% tax levy? Not now, because we really want to go through the line by line, all right? But if you can provide information, to the board, was there any impact? What was the difference back in 2020? If you're able to look at it, when they did the 0% tax levy, where were we at? Do we have 10 million surplus? So not tonight, but provide it to us, so we can share it at the next board meeting. And was there any impact over the previous years in the 2020, 21 budget, 21, 22? Was there any impact from that zero tax levy in 2020? So not tonight, because I do want to go through the line by line a little bit more. Yeah, I want to keep this moving. So Megan had something that she wanted to ask
I don't know if it's that I want to ask,
or speak about.
but I'm just scratching my head that why we have this in front of us as our proposed balanced budget at the end of March, because it's not sustainable. What we see here is not sustainable. We can't afford it. And we're proposing to use $3.4 million in our reserves to make it work. So to sit here and say, okay, Board of Education, you now go through and figure out what we can't afford, I would be looking instead at the cabinet to say, well, what is sustainable? What is sustainable? Why are we deciding what's sustainable? We're the volunteers. So we have on here $1.2 million, if I calculated it correctly, of new in the budget. 3.4 in reserves that we're using to make that work, and the 1.56% tax increase that one is arguing, which I tend to agree, because we're going to end up with $3 million, hopefully in surplus. We're adding $3 million to the budget. It's just not making sense. What the proposal does not make sense. And I hear you, Mr. Jerome, because when I looked at this line by line, this was broken out to the utmost as compared to what we saw last year. And I said, this is too tight. There's no surplus in here. So what we have in front of us, I don't know where we start as a Board of Education. It seems like we can't just wait until April 15th. We should meet again because we need to see something different proposed to us as a balanced budget. I would love to see that buildings report. I asked for it. I'm not sure if I got it yet. I'm happy to see this information, the fund balance reserves, because I was asking for that. It's helpful. We, in that final column there, the $8.8 million in unappropriated fund balance, but yet where we're going to use 2.9 of it, I'm not sure how that adds up because it seems as though we're presenting that we're going to just use the excess of the 4% to balance this year's budget. Is that what is
Yes,
being yeah.
one of the things that you'll notice, the 8.8 million that we have unassigned is really restricted to only 4.8 million because it should be no more than 4%.
Understood.
So we have $4 million. That's what the point I was trying to make before, Juan. It's not 10 million. It's $4 million that we have that is now in the unassigned fund balance that we need to do something with. Replenish the reserves that we hit in the past is one possibility. Return that money to the taxpayers in the form of applied fund balance is a second possibility. If you do, where is that $4 million going to come from the following year?
Mm-hmm.
Because
So that's not what the
unless-
3.4 is that you're suggesting balances the budget. That's not from the unassigned fund
Oh, yeah,
balance.
it could
It
very
is,
well be,
right?
yes, absolutely.
So, right.
Right, but then,
So then
so let's
it's not
go,
sustainable.
let's go to 27, 28.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
In 27, 28, we'd have to, in order to not levy additional taxes to maintain the same program, we'd have to return another $3.4 million. And as you pointed out, Ms. Messman,
Mm-hmm.
we tried very hard to make this budget as tight as it could be
Mhm.
by identifying every single staff member
Mm-hmm.
and what their salary will be next year, what their longevity payments will be.
Right.
Now, people in the public, they have the same
The
kind of document, but they do not have the names
Sure, sure.
of staff members.
Mhm.
This wouldn't be appropriate for me to share
Sure,
that,
of course.
but they have the same information.
Mhm.
You have information that shows you it is teacher, by secretary, by principal, you name it. For every benefit they get, for every salary perk that they get, whether it's longevity, base salary, et cetera. You're right, we've made this as tight as we can. The flexibility will come in that what I haven't accounted for yet is people who will be retiring and therefore will have some breakage, we call it, whose salary will be replaced by a lower paid person. What I also haven't accounted for is the Board of Education telling us this $1.2 million, no. I mean, you could tell us that tonight. This is your district, it's not ours.
I
We're
mean,
making a recommendation to you as to what we think the children in this district need. You have to make the ultimate decision as to what this community can afford.
yeah, not having the $1.2 million of new still leaves us with borrowing 2.2 million from our reserves.
It leaves you with, yes, exactly.
Mhm.
Yes, and levying
And
at
going to the
limit.
top of the tax cap still.
Yes,
Yes.
that's exactly correct.
So again, I don't know why we have it in front of us.
Well, I look
Because
at,
I think the goal of our fiscal responsibility as trustees would be to get to a place where we don't have the volatility of the up and down and we are stable. So the wish list is certainly too much of a reach, if at all. I don't know what we could afford.
but I think there's certain aspects of it that we should look at and make a decision. I do agree that it's a wish list, but I also feel that there may be certain aspects of it that we do definitely need to, to consider. And
So,
how will it, and also how would it impact us? And I think also what's important with the 0% tax levy, I think it's something that not tonight, but it really needs to be put up on the screen so people, not only the board, but either community can understand that they can see that if we do a 0%, we take from here, whatever the steps that we would do, what would be the impact? What would be the benefit for this year? If we did it, if we can't do it this year, if we did it next year, what would be the impact and how would we be able to sustain it with the money that we currently have? I think it would help people to understand either, yeah, as a board, you need to do it, or no, please don't do it. That's just my perspective, because we keep talking about it, but I think people would benefit from actually seeing what
Well,
that would look like.
I think that's what I'm saying with just understanding what's the contractual increases each year. What are we obligated to increase the budget, the expenditures each year? So you can see if the negative trickle down or not of what the percent tax increase is going out like 1 or 2 years.
So the answer to your question is the budget, rolling over the budget and just allowing for contractually mandated increases would basically be $1.2 million less. Take all the items that we've identified as new staff. There's about, 12 new staff members that we put into this budget.
Mm-hmm.
Take them out, and that's what a roll forward budget would look like. But we don't think.
But then to
we
Lisa's
can't-
point, like, what is it the following year then?
Yeah.
So then
That's-
we can understand better, what do we actually need to run the district? That's where I keep, that's what I mean by that. Like,
I
if
think,
we need a 1% tax levy increase, then that's what I want to know. So that we know the following year, right? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
But I think also
I
too
would
is-
second that
yeah, but I think
because
also too is that we also have to
need
look at
know
maintain,
if
how can we also can.
Okay, I'll
put
speak
money-
after you, Ms. Johnson.
That's fine, thank you, because I was talking as well. So I think it's also how can we continue? If we did something like that, right? Then, for example, what about the capital projects in our district? How do we make sure that we put money into that area? So therefore, the structures of our buildings don't continue to go down, because that's some of the problems that we don't look at. We keep putting Band-Aids on our district. That's number one. Number two, if we just rolled over hypothetically and did 0%, how do we continue to maybe improve the performance of our students within our district? How do we work on improving them academically? There are certain things in here that maybe that's presented as a possibility with the 1.2, but what are some of the things that we do need that can help our students to continue to move forward to improve the academics of our students within our district? So to me, it's a combination of both.
I'm not arguing what makes sense for the students, but to be able to make a fiscal decision, we need to see it out a few years because we're in a bad place where we're suggesting to use $3.4 million in reserves to balance the budget.
No, and
So
I-
what makes sense? Oh, do we need to get to a zero that we're using of the reserves? That's what we need to get to? Then
No,
how do we get there?
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's a goal.
Okay,
It would be that to reduce your reliance on applied fund balance, it would be impossible to build a budget where the revenues and the expenditures are exactly the same. And therefore you just roll forward every year
Mhm.
with an increase in expenditures matched by exactly the same increase in revenue. Can't happen. No business official can build a budget like that for you
okay.
for a
that's-
variety of reasons.
Okay, but so again, like, well, what's our goal and what's sustainable and what do you really need to, anyway, I've said it. Go on.
Let me just, let me offer.
No,
this.
no, no, it's okay. Go ahead. I mean,
This year,
everyone
we're-
talks over me
This year, but at least your wife lets you talk, right?
sometimes.
This year, we're projecting a $3.2 million fund under expenditure of our budget.
Understood.
If you took that full $3.2 million and returned it to taxpayers in the form of applied fund balance, you would reduce the $3.4 million to 200,000. I'm not
So
suggesting
can you,
that.
but how can you do that if you don't close the books? Or like, we don't know what the surplus is until,
You know that I am going to make another fund balance estimate on March 31st when we've closed the books for the month of March.
Mhm.
And I'm going to make another one in April. And right now, my best estimate is that we're going to have $3.2 million unexpended. So for next year, we're okay. The following year, if I've built this budget as tightly as you've noticed, you won't have $3.2 million left over. And then you'll need to make some tough decisions.
so I don't want to be in that position.
I'm with you.
That's what I don't like. We don't want to set ourselves up to have to cut $3.5 million next year. So that's, yeah.
So Mr. Dragon, I just wanted to go back to a request I had made from you at the last meeting. And that was, when you present this budget to us, can you present a 0% tax levy increase option to the board? I don't see one here tonight. So and the reason why I asked for that is because I wanted to, like what Trustee Messman said, I wanted to see what our built-in expenses and projections are already without adding in anything from the wish list. It doesn't mean that we can't work them in, but I wanted to see if we went forward with what we had last year, which, you know, some spots were tough and some weren't, but don't forget, we're working with a $10.6 million surplus. So there still is a way, in my opinion, and you can tell me otherwise, that we can still fund the reserves and still apply $1 million to the tax levy.
I'm just reminding you that when you set the levy at zero, you are losing that revenue.
You're losing the exponential growth.
Not the exponential growth. You're losing that revenue every year for the rest of the life of this district. Every single year. I cannot recommend to you any more heartily that you set the levy at the limit. You've got $100 million worth of work to do. Even assuming for a moment that the architect put in some things that are nice to have and not necessary, you still have $60 million worth of work to do. You could lose $60 million over the next few years if you set the levy at zero.
Well, Mr. Dragon, I think you understand this as well. For major projects like that, such as the bond that was passed which was a multi-million-dollar bond. No school districts carry in their budget the kind of money to do those kind of repairs.
Right.
That's why they go out for bond.
We could, and if we put out $100 million bond and got all of the work done, we'd be spending 12, $14 million a year in debt service.
I understand that, but we still don't have a good focus of what needs to get done and what priorities we want for the district, and if there's any other restructuring or anything like that. That's why I wanted to talk to you in just macro terms, in big terms. Again, $10.6 million surplus, roughly 8% of the budget, unused. This year's tax levy was paid in advance.
Could I just suggest that we use $4 million?
Right.
Because we have $4 million more in unassigned fund balance than we're allowed to keep. The $10 million should have been placed in reserves last year. It wasn't. So yes, we had a $10 million under expenditure, but the result was we have $4 million more in unassigned fund balance than we should have. That's the surplus, not 10.
So we have 4% funding these funds to their max allowable limit, state allowable limit.
Right.
We have 4 million in excess.
Correct.
Okay, that's understood. I continue to say 10.6 because that's what was presented to the board. It wasn't you, it was your predecessor,
But it's been,
but that's what was presented.
Right. I hear you.
now it's clarified.
I know, listen, I know that this is not easy for you, and you guys are experts to understand. Imagine what the community is thinking about when they hear this. And they hear $10 million surplus, and it's not. It's $4 million.
Right.
And we have to encourage people to think rationally about it. We have $4 million more in our unassigned fund balance than we're allowed by law. We don't have a $10 million bank account.
Mr. Dragone, I understand that, but also it was presented to us $10.6 million because that was the difference between the voter approved budget and actuals. That's what was unused.
So I just refer you to your auditor's financial statement, which shows that the unassigned fund balance is 7.9% as opposed to 4% of the subsequent year's budget. That 4% represents 3.9% represents a little over $4 million. It's not $10 million.
So at this point in time, I just have a question as a board. After getting the budget, do we want to go through the line by line? Do we want to make any recommendations? Because that's the question that I have. Do we want Joe to go? I
You guys
can't.
can do
Can I
it.
just ask one more question that could maybe be answered as we do the line by line? Of the proposed budget, how much of that could be like one-time expenditures that is not expected to come across the following year?
Great question. Everything in the equipment line, of course, is a one-time expense. Everything in the equipment line.
But then is
But
it-
that's a very
But I'm
small
sure there's,
portion.
and I'm sure there's also an amount that is expected to be other equipment the following year to
Yeah.
some extent.
Yes.
So expecting that there will still be an amount in there.
There's also a number of items in Mr. Galina's building repair budget that are one-time expenditures. If we repair the parking lot at Northeast or Park Avenue, I've forgotten which one we're
All of
doing.
them.
They're all in here.
Yeah. Well,
So,
the ones that are in there are the ones with a T next to them. If they have an F next to them, that means false, not included in the budget.
I'm sorry, can you say that again? If it had
Sure.
the F?
Every item
Mhm.
in this budget, in the line by line
I
budget,
see the F
has
and the
either a
G.
T or
Yeah.
an F.
Mhm.
Most of them are T,
Okay.
meaning they're included, they're true, it's included
Oh,
in the
true.
budget.
Okay.
But there are other items that we put in the budget for your review, for
I see.
your knowledge,
Okay.
that are not
If we saw
included.
something that was a higher priority, maybe, in our
And
opinion.
yes, if you see something that's marked as an F, meaning it's not included in the budget, and you said, oh no, we've got to do that,
Right, right.
we would then have to find something else to pull out of the budget in order to accommodate that.
So trustee Messman, I'm assuming that in prior budgets, you didn't see all of those Fs.
No.
No.
So when I first got here and I was given the report of the prior year's budget, I saw what my predecessor had put in for. And we'll use Ms. Buatsi as an example. She alone took all those things out and didn't even present them to you. And so what I had spoken to Mr. Snyder and Mr. Dragone, I think you need to see what we are proposing. So you can see what we didn't even give you a chance to turn it down, but you also need to see what this district needs. And so let's use the high school's auditorium sound system, for example. It's $320,000. It
Mhm.
desperately needs to be done. And also, Mr. Leone, I agree with you as far as architects. I can't stand them. They are a necessary evil. They protect us from liability when they design things and stuff. And yeah, maybe that $101,000 isn't necessarily 101. But what I also noticed is in the past budgets, when the certain jobs that were proposed that you said yay or nay to, all these other things, even though the former director proposed them, they never even reached your eyes.
No.
I want you to see all of the things that we feel need to be done that aren't even getting proposed, that are not even being put before you to decide upon. So I said it's important to show them, but just like Mr. DeGrom pointed out, to be realistic in this budget, he and the cabinet and myself said, these are the ones we absolutely want to do, but these other things, these other needs still exist.
Is this like that? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead,
No,
Leslie.
we've never seen a budget we've never seen a budget presentation like this, with all everything on it. I mean, it
Well,
was,
we have, but we haven't seen the Fs and Ts, you mean?
we never saw, right.
Well,
I think in the
this is more
past, you
detailed than
did,
last year.
you did see staff members, did you not?
No.
No, staff members you didn't?
No.
Everything, no, we've never seen that. No.
Okay,
And you
by
put
name.
down things that. we
well,
haven't
that's,
seen either.
that's why,
Like,
I'm sorry, that's why I asked for some more time, because I think that this is the appropriate way to present a budget to you,
No, thank you.
so that you could see how it was built.
So.
Can I ask Mr. Galena some? Oh, go
No,
ahead.
no, go ahead.
What you included in here for the minor building repairs
Mhm.
was the highest priority out of the H2M report? Because
So
we didn't
no.
see the H2M report, so.
No, so what I included in there were things that I thought I could do with the general budget. There's a lot of
Okay.
things that I can't do with the
Because
capital budget.
most of theirs is more capital.
Way more capital
Yeah.
and I'm just going to give you one example because I don't
I
want to
didn't
paint it as
look
doom
at
and
it yet.
gloom. But the roofs on all of the buildings
Mhm,
in Amityville School District are all coming up to warranty.
mhm.
Usually they're given 20 to 25 years. And there's two roofs that maybe have like 18 years of the 20, and there are roofs that are over. Each
Mhm.
roof is going to cost like $1.5 to $2 million that
Sure,
I cannot even begin to address. With the general budget, I wouldn't ask you to do that.
I
And,
understand.
I know about the debt service here, so it's not even something that I would put in front of you. However, you do need to know that these things will eventually need to be addressed because you're going to have leaking, you're going to have leaking in the buildings, which is going to lead to other problems, other expenses. So even though, yes, we're looking for a sustainable budget, we still need to be realistic and say we have to upgrade the facilities. You can't keep ignoring it year after year.
Okay, no,
Mhm. I know you're not. I know you're
understand. I'm not questioning that. I would love the board to have a presentation by H2M with Mr. Glenn
That can
here to
absolutely
talk
be
about
accommodated.
the findings
Mhm.
from the 5-year
Yeah.
building conditions survey?
So what I will say is I just got the initial report of the 5-year, and now I'm working with the architects to basically put it into 4 different categories. It would be bond, EPC, maintenance, and general. And so try and break all that money out over 5 years. Now, is it realistic to say that we can absorb $101 million worth of projects? No, it's not. But we can knock off a couple of big ones, because I know that there are areas that you
Priority.
can see with your own eyes around the district that have been neglected that really need to be shored up. So,
So
Okay,
just
thank you.
just for clarification, what you have identified on pages 2, 3, and 4 in terms of what's new in the budget, that's already existing in here. You just pull them out for us
Yes,
to
ma'am.
see.
I
And
just
then-
pulled it out so that you could see what items we're suggesting
Be the
need to
focus.
be added to the budget in order for us to meet the needs of children.
So they're here,
They're
but they're not included in the budget,
Right.
but to identify which of these items potentially should be part of the budget.
Pull them
And I
down
just
in the
kind of
budget.
feel like at least the accountant needs to be there, the purchasing agent needs to be there. This is just my perspective on it. The district clerk back to full-time. To honor the students, something with the meditation room and the night custodian, just to kind of see what it looks like. And then, I don't know, I gotta look at it a little bit more, but maybe instructional coach, building level leaders, and reinstatement of high school chairpersons. I think as I'm saying this, my biggest concern is, and I think someone has already said it, the sustainability. What I would hate to see is, let's just take the psychologist on page 4, that if we hired a psychologist hypothetically, if we hired an instructional coach hypothetically, if we hired, I'll just put athletic trainer hypothetically, can we sustain these positions? Because I would hate to go out to hire them and then turn around in next year's budget, well, guess what, we can't afford it. So to me, it's looking at the things that are here that's new in the budget. What are some of the most, I think everything is needed, but what is really, really needed to help us in the district? And I really think the purchasing agent, the accountant is something that definitely is needed. That's definitely needed. And even the night custodian, because we're paying overtime for that. There's other stuff that's needed as well, but that's just in the district clerk full-time. Those are the things that I'm looking at. But then again, it doesn't address the academic aspect of the needs of our kids. So that's my other biggest concern.
So I do want to say mandated expenses presented under what's new would include the teacher for class in district, that was a CSE decision. Speech teacher for services, CSE decision. Psychologist is needed for some mandated services and in response to the mental health, social services that are needed as well. But that psychologist would, if it was to be cut, would have to be at least 0.5. So of what has been presented, those are mandated services that would need to be honored.
So Mr. Galina,
sir.
again, we mentioned the high school sound system.
Mhm.
Just so you know, we've been mentioning it for years.
I'm aware.
That was part of the discussion when this board, a different board decided to do the bond. Okay, that's one of the things that was cut from the bond
Okay.
because we wanted to make sure, we assessed our needs. We would love to have a sound system, and there's a whole bunch of other things we would love to have.
I completely understand.
Right. There's more needs than what we have money for.
I agree.
That's just the way it is. We have to realize that, even in our own homes, our own lives, whatever. Same thing with the bond too. Do you know that there was discussion to have a pool put in at the high school, a community pool?
I was not aware.
That was also part of the discussion, which was ultimately axed off that.
Probably a smart thing to do to axe that.
Right. So that, until we trimmed it down and we got to that number of $69.9 million, which Dr. Dragon knows very well because He looks at the debt service and everything else like that. So the point I'm trying to make is that there are always going to be more needs than what we have money for. I want to see what we need,
Okay.
what we need.
I agree with you 100%, and I'm telling you that what we need is to upgrade the infrastructure of the facilities because it hasn't been done on a regular basis for many, many years here. And that's not, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus. I'm not trying to blame anyone, but I know, for example, the new edict by New York State to the new temperature law, 88 degrees. We want air conditioning everywhere. That's a very expensive proposition when we have infrastructure that's 10, 15 years old that needs to be replaced. So when I ask for an allowance to do it and I don't get it, what do I tell that teacher who's in a room that doesn't have air conditioning? And again, that's my cross to bear.
Well, I don't think we've ever denied a teacher air conditioning, especially if there's a medical necessity.
I'm not saying you didn't deny
Well,
them,
that is
but
true.
when I have equipment that breaks and I don't have the ability to fix it because it's not within my budget, I have to make tough decisions and sometimes say I can't. And some people don't want to hear I can't. And so I will always champion the facilities. Again, I do not envy your position, any of your positions. It's very, very difficult to make decisions because you're not trying to say no to the community. You're trying to be fiscally responsible. But the realities are this district needs to look at the facilities and really like Mr. Dragone was trying to say is put in a reserve so that we are putting money towards them to begin to improve them. We haven't even begun. And so one of the recommendations that he said was that fund balance should have went into the capital reserve. So if we had $4,000, $5,000 in the capital reserve, and then we fix something and we get state
Million.
aid on it, million,
Million.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
I'll
You
give
knew what I meant.
$4,000.
You know what I'm saying? Then we're knocking off
Understood.
5%. I got it. And I'm
And
not,
we don't
not
have
trying
to
to
ask for
educate
the
you.
voters for that? We don't have to put a voter proposition and move the,
No, you actually did ask the voters in May of 2022 for the authority to establish the capital reserve
okay,
for a period of 15 years, a maximum amount of $15 million with
okay,
a maximum contribution on an annual basis of $2.5 million.
okay, so we could
You've
move,
already gotten that
so we
authorization
could move $2.5 million
per year.
per year, all right. So I just want to say something, just quickly, because I don't really want to go line by line. I have a couple of things, but I don't need to go page by page by page. I want to understand how the student performance has been analyzed and how these recommendations were determined as far as the instructional coach, the building level leaders, and how, if we go forward with them, we can measure the effectiveness of anything new that we add in. I want a measurable goal. If we end up deciding that the district can afford to add anything new with the purpose of improving student achievement. So I'm not going to sit here and decide on my own or try to guess which one of them is the most important, but to actually see a summary to the Board of Education as to how did you get to these recommendations? What point made you determine this as your recommendation? And how can we monitor it going forward so that we know that it's an effective role?
I think yeah, what I would also add on there is making sure that if it was something that if that was all provided, I think more important for me is also the sustainability of the position. Because we can say it's going to be monitored, but then if it's approved this year, but it's pulled out next year or the year after, then we're not going to know how effective it was. It may take a couple of years. So I hear what you're saying. I don't
I-
disagree, but I think as we're making this decision, there's also hopefully a commitment that if the information is provided, then we can also be able to see, most importantly, the sustainability, because they're going to have to stay here. It's not going to change in 1 year. And I think
Yeah.
to me, that's what's most important.
I guess the only thing that I would say is that if the community saw the academics improving and we had to say, this is because we added X, Y, and Z role and it's working, and here's the proof that it's working, people would get behind the tax increase. I truly believe that.
And that's something, I don't disagree with what you're stating, but what I'm saying is that we can't have it one year and then pull it out the next year. Because if we.
I understand.
Yeah, okay. Just make sure.
Well, we did hire a director of guidance a few years ago, and then we had to cut.
Right,
So that was a,
right. And we had chairpersons and we had to pull them back when we had, we had all these positions before somewhat, and then we had to pull them out because of the financial, situation that we were in. So it's all about that sustainability. So, Dr. Talbot, I know you want to say something. I don't mind doing a general overview on the sections, but I know last year we did page by page by page. I can't. Please, let's not go that way, that direction on line by line. That's number one. No, I don't think anyone wants to be here to 12 o'clock, but I think also too, more importantly is what does the board want to go forward with some more information from Joe? Are we looking to make any type of decisions at all tonight? Because that was sort of the focus behind it. Are we willing to say that, can you keep this in the budget because we want to see what this is going to look like? Because if we're not willing to make any decisions tonight, like I said, there's a couple of things I would love to see to stay in. But other people are not willing to make some type of decision so they know how to plan moving forward. Because the next presentation that they give us is going to be a proposed budget. And if people are saying that we need to meet again, then that's something that we have to think about in order to get to what we want. We had a transition here with the finance person, so we lost some time. So we need to make a decision. Are we at least willing to say with some guidance, can you keep these in to see what it looks like? And then have it come back. We already mentioned about the 0% tax levy. What would that look like over a couple of years? So therefore we can come back more informed. So there's a number of things that we've asked for. So my question from the Board of Education, what are the next steps for tonight? That's my question. So if you want to start from Leslie, do you have any sort of perspective, next steps for tonight? Do you want to hear the rest of what Mr.
well, I definitely don't want to go line by line. I mean, this is.
Just
pretty-
speak more into the mic?
Oh, sorry, this is very comprehensible. I didn't, comprehensive. I didn't realize the T and the F, and that makes so much more sense to me. I was like, oh my gosh. It would be great if that was all in there, but yeah, and that was, thought we would go through that and eliminate things, but now I see there's a huge chunk that is not in
Al
the budget.
already did that.
Okay,
And,
yeah.
and most of the
Understand
Fs are in
I
his
didn't
code.
understand that. Okay.
Megan?
I'm flipping through my notes here. I did want to just ask quickly, the charter schools, how did you assume the increase? Is it based on
The,
transportation forms of who's going where next year, or how is it?
no, we looked at the actual enrollment in charter schools as of today. And
Okay.
it is higher than was budgeted last year.
Mhm.
Last year, I think that we
1.7.
budgeted for 74, and this year we are paying for 81. So we use the 81 students to come up with the $1.94 million in tuition that we expect we're going to have to pay in 26, 27. That could be lower if children come back.
So.
It could also be higher. Yes.
So, yeah, so in that vein, I would increase that number. I would increase
I
that
would
number.
too. because we didn't, I think the last
Go
2
into
years,
like
we
listen.
were not, the last 2 years, we were not on target with that.
Yeah.
And we were paying for extra children that students that we did not anticipate.
Right.
So you may want to go higher. That's true.
So I'll tell
I
you
don't
another
think it's
area
clear on
that
which
you
one it's
guys,
at, but-
and you could make this decision. I kind of made it for you, but I've estimated that health insurance costs will increase by 10%
We need to prepare for that.
come January 1st. I think that that's a safe projection.
Mhm.
It may actually be a more generous projection than is necessary because this year it was 8.9%.
Okay.
Not going to save much, but if you wanted me to lower the projected increase in health insurance.
Not
okay.
me, anyway.
No. No, I'd rather you say at the 10.
I'm trying to offer areas in which
No.
I have built in for
Some-
you
Some contingency.
some
I didn't on
flexibility.
transportation either. We haven't had a.
You're going to receive, in this week's news and notes, a rather extensive study done by Nate, in which he estimates what the cost of what I'm calling now options 4 and 5 are. They are both more expensive. Option 4, we consider K-2 at half, 3 to 8 at 1, 9 to 12 at 1.5. I'm looking to Nate. Did I say that right?
So this would be more than what you have in the budget.
335,000.
Okay.
And the other one was K-5 at half a mile, 6 to 8 at 1 mile, 9 to 12 at 1.5 miles. Now, the advantage to that, to Juan's request, not a single student loses service. Every student gets the same service or better next year compared to this year. The cost is $805,000. And so now you have 5 options.
Wait, hold on, Joe. In the budget that you are discussing tonight, how did you
No change.
put in the line? No change from last year.
Correct.
That's a yes.
Right
Okay.
now, it's K-3, half a mile, 4 to 6, 1 mile, 7 to 12, 1.5 miles. That is $7,183,000 worth of contract services. And we've now presented to you that we call that option 1. We've now presented to you 4 other options, one of which would reduce costs by $200,000, but would decrease services because children in grade 3 would not get service. I've forgotten.
Okay.
You
but-
remember.
All right, but anyway, my
Sure.
point is this, and I'm not sure if we can take care of this tonight. I think, my opinion, just me, is that we keep the busing the way it is. We already exceed what New York State expects from us. We are trying to find balance from year to year in the budget. We are coming off some very tough years, followed by a record surplus. Before we start piling and adding things on, let's keep it flat. Let's keep it where it is.
I'm good with that. If that's the board's direction,
If that's what the board would like, we can move on to something else.
I'm fine with that.
Actually, it's gonna come in the Friday memo. that
Yeah,
comes
I'm
out.
not,
Okay,
I'm
so
not
that's
ready
okay,
to commit. I just want to see
Okay.
what
We'll
the
just-
Friday memo
okay.
has to say, and then I'll be able to say it the next.
So then my comment regarding what we would like to see, Mr. Dragon, I think you understand where I come from. I don't know how, I mean, I think Megan and I feel the same, that we would like to view a 0% tax levy increase budget, one that is, I know you may not like it, but one that is most responsible.
So I can give it to you right now.
No, I don't want it right now.
Drain your reserves.
No, but that's not what I'm asking to do.
What are you asking to do? To reduce the budget? The expenditure budget? Tell me where you want to make the reductions and
Sure.
we'll do it.
Excellent.
Find the $1 million that you want to cut out of the budget and we'll do it.
Right.
That's a decision that the
Right.
board needs to make.
So.
What is the service that you want to provide to the children? We're recommending to you this budget because we believe it provides the services that your children need. These are not our children, these are your children.
But
Understood.
you're also saying that it's not really sustainable, right?
So
So
let me do this, Megan.
there's a balance here.
Let me make this suggestion to you.
Yeah.
Let me go back with the cabinet members
Mhm.
and take a hard look at some of the expenses that we've estimated,
Mhm.
take into consideration the possibility that state aid will increase by 300,000, right? And project, not just for next year, but project 2 or 3 years in the future of what this budget would look like
Yes.
with 1.56% tax levy this year. Going forward, what would it look like? Would we be able to sustain it? That's your question, right?
With the
Really.
contractual, yeah, with what we're obligated, yes, like how
I
does
think-
that,
I think that that's a very appropriate question for you to ask.
yeah.
I cannot, one, in good conscience, I cannot recommend to you that you set the levy at 0. It is irresponsible.
Right.
It is going to be a disaster for this community, and I don't want that to be your legacy.
I'm not worried about my legacy, Joe, but when we had that $10.6 million surplus,
The
and
$4.8 million surplus.
when there was a difference of the approved taxpayer budget and it was less $10.6 million. Did I say that appropriately?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So when that took place and we saw where those savings had come from, we had seen cuts to special education. We had seen cuts to maintenance things, important maintenance that was cut down the road, that was cut. We saw in just about any other line,
Cuts in
maintenance,
overtime.
cuts in
Everything.
overtime everywhere. It
Meal
was
trips.
major
Do it.
cuts. So it's never going to be like that again because we're actually coming back to it. But what we're trying to do, or what I think you're trying to do, is come back to the level before that cut and go forward a little bit.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is by us with that $10.6 million, how would you explain it?
Expenditures under appropriations.
Under appropriations, that's our cushion. That's our cushion to bring some of those things back that we did without. We can do that and fund the reserve balances at the 4% level and cut down the zero, cut down tax levy to 0. We could. And it would be an increase from the year before. And I think I said that previously.
I think,
Sorry, Lisa,
I think,
okay, go ahead.
I think also what would be helpful is this, especially in a public session, because we got about the 10.6 million. We're talking about 4.8. So if people hear that the 10.6, they may feel that there's this money that's floating around that we're kind of holding on to. So I think there needs to be better clarity on that 10.6.
Gotcha.
Where is it? What happened to it? Is it still in existence? I think that needs to be clarified. I think that's step, number one. I think that the next thing, and I did mention it before, when it comes to the 0% tax levy, I think it's just really providing to the public and to the entire board. Like, what would that look like at 0%? Because our tax levy for this year is already set, or we have not set it for this year. So let's say hypothetically, what would it look like for this year if we did 0%? I think people need to see it up on the screen. What would look like at 0%? What would look like next year? For what will we have to do to have that 0% tax levy? I think that needs to be seen, as well as the 10.6, wherever that 10.6 is, for clarity for everyone. That way, everyone is informed. We have an understanding. Knowing also right now, if we didn't ask for anything else, what would that budget look like? If we didn't ask for anything else at all, what would that budget look like? So I think that would help everyone in their clarity in making a decision. Because when I go to make my decision and 0%, 1.56, 2, I'm just throwing out numbers for the tax levy. I want to make sure I'm making an informed decision. I strongly feel that there's certain things that we do need to put back in here, but I want to make sure that it's going to be sustained, that it's not going to be a one-shot deal, and then 2 years down the road, we have to now take it out because we're in a particular situation. when we were in that situation, when we all walked into that particular situation, there were things that we had to do in order to not keep, not have the blood still flowing out. We had to do that. So I think for me, that's what's important. We had to take certain steps. We did those steps, and then the next budget was done. And when the next budget was done for the following year, there were certain things that were done for hopefully to minimize any more deficit, but also increase what we had. So moving forward, in my opinion, the 10.6, better clarity on that. The 0% for a tax levy, we did it for this year. What would look like for this year? What will look like for next year and the year after? What? So therefore, we're all informed. We can make decisions. That's just my opinion.
So Lisa, I'm
Can I
sorry,
ask
just
a
one
question?
final comment and then I'm done for today. I don't have adequate questions yet because we received the digital copy of this on Tuesday, and we received the hard copy yesterday. So I haven't had a time to digest it. I will go line by line, but I'm not going to do it on your time. I'll do it on mine, and then I'll come back with adequate questions.
And I think, and everyone's right, I think we're all in the same position. None of us really had an opportunity to do it extensively. But I also want to acknowledge that with Mr. Dragon, he's coming in here. He's been here, what, 2 weeks, I think now? 3 weeks now. So he had to come in, look at everything, and present to us information that he could stand behind. So none of us had really had an opportunity to go into detail. So as a board, we may have to, consider meeting again, because I think our next meeting is April 15th, and then we have a meeting on the 21st. So there may have to be another meeting between the 15th and the 21st. So therefore, we can definitely address all these things that everyone has on their mind.
President Johnson, can I ask a question? This is a detailed question going back to page 8, but I need the information moving forward to make a decision. As far as the teaching assistants, there's a 2.6% increase. How does that translate into the exact amount of teaching assistants?
I don't remember how many I know we added some teaching assistants for existing programs. Did we add one for the special class? Right? Was it assistant or an aide? So that
okay.
includes a new assistant for that class.
Thank you. So my next question is, I'm just going to focus on first grade right now. How long is a teaching assistant in a classroom in first grade per day?
That's not a question for me. I'm sorry.
Right, so Ms. Stevens can respond, but that varies because they're not assigned to the class full-time.
Right. So it's approximately a half of a day for each class.
Okay. So when you say approximately, is it most of the time a half a day, or is
Most
it
of the time.
possibly in some days only an hour? So really what I'm getting at, is there enough coverage for small group instruction with the TA in the classroom?
So that is why it varies, that they are striving to make sure that everyone has the opportunity, especially at Northwest and Park. They're prioritizing small group instruction. So it may not be every day that there's a half hour if that's the way they're able to balance it to meet the instructional needs
But
on a
they're-
grade level.
They're able to cover leveled reading groups so that there's no other distractions in the classroom?
They are able to do that.
Okay, great. And Mr. Galena, your point is very well taken. Yes, a board has to be fiscally responsible, but they also have to make sure that a crumbling infrastructure is addressed. If not, it's just going to continue to compound. We are sitting in a building where that happened many, many years ago. We also can look at the old area of the high school where it happened, and that in the long run costs the taxpayer more money. So yes, it absolutely has to be addressed. Thank you.
Any other?
So
No, Megan has been waiting, so then,
I'm sorry, Chris, I'm quick. Because we were originally making our way down the table as far as next steps. So I just want to close my thought. And I did also just quickly want to understand the TANs, like the TANs is reduced to $450,000. How are we making that because of the unassigned fund balance? Is that,
No, unfortunately, it's because the interest rates we're anticipating will be lower this year than they were last year. The general economic climate says that we're going to be paying a smaller interest rate on our TANs.
okay. Okay, so how comfortable do you feel with the projection that you're
Very.
carrying here?
Very.
Very comfortable. Thank you. As far as next steps, I think I would like to meet preferably before the 15th, since I think the 15th, then we're saying that we have to adopt the budget the following week.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
the drop dead date, so to speak, is April 21st because we need to file the property tax report card by April 24th.
I would say,
Right.
but, let's everyone
I
look at the
guess that was
calendars and then that way
spring
we
break,
can,
right?
yeah, we have break coming up. Let's look at the calendars and see what everyone can possibly do. Whether it's the 15th, we have the board meeting, then we have another meeting after that. So I think let's,
Mhm.
everyone look at the calendars and we can go from there in terms of meeting again, which the focus would just be for the budget.
Thank you.
And then, so let's look at calendars. Any other comments? Not right now, look at calendars. I'm just
Yeah, two questions. One is on the natural gas and the fuel oil line. I see there was a slight increase in the natural gas and the fuel oil actually went down. And I'm seeing as everybody, the fuel prices are skyrocketing. How are we able to handle those amounts?
I would guess that Mr. Galina put that number in the budget before the war in Iran started.
Okay.
Not only that, we don't have a lot of areas in the district that are reliant on fuel oil. We're mostly gas. So the projections for oil in past years may have been a little high, and that's one of the areas that both Mr. Snyder and Mr. DeGrone recognized, and so they lowered those lines.
Okay, so we feel the natural, I mean, the fuel oil, that's a low number. It's only 2,700. But
Correct.
the natural gas is almost 400,000. Are we expecting that will go well above that? I know it also depends how long this war goes on for.
So there's projected increases in gas pricing. And so we do our best guesstimate to cover those increases. We don't know exactly what they are. I can't give you the answer on what that projection is, but I can the next time I speak to you.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. This
You're
next question will be for you also.
Okay, great.
Back to the Park Avenue playground flooring. I think that's the hip surface for
Yeah,
playground
weren't playing. And if
94.
you notice, it's an N. So we weren't actually suggesting to do it this year in the budget, which is why I created the line for the FIBAR to basically refresh the surfacing.
So seeing as that is restricting, it's not ADA compliant and it's restricting the access to some students to
Correct.
use the playground. I would, I know this is the opposite direction that we're going in. I would like to see that in the budget.
Okay, so
Again, I haven't looked through it enough to even suggest what should be cut out. I don't know if the
Right.
rest of the board is in
No,
agreement
I
with
think-
that.
I think not tonight, because there's more things that, because with the Ts and F, I wasn't aware with the Ts
Right.
and F, so.
No, but I'm just saying,
So-
if
Make a
if we're
note.
at least in agreement to try to include that,
I'll make a note on my page.
okay.
I think, yeah, I would agree with that.
I'll make a note on it, and then that way, when we get back together again.
Are also in the budget is well, we can't do the whole track, but repairs.
so repairs were covered by the grant by the
Right,
legislator. And
okay.
it came out to about $11,000 to
Okay.
patch it all up.
And how long will that last?
It's 2 to 3 years at the most.
What's going on with
It-
the softball field?
So what's going on with the softball field is the softball field had no ability to drain anymore because of the
Right.
compaction of the soil. I was told that a similar thing happened to the high school approximately 8 or 9 years ago. That field
Baseball
got
field, yes.
turned over and we're able to manipulate it and get
Okay.
games on it. And now softball's gone beyond that. Due to the generosity of the grant by the New York State
Right.
legislature, we're going to have that done. And one of the things that I had looked into was to put drainage in. but because Amityville is basically a high water table, it would be cost
It's gonna
prohibitive
come up.
to do something to that effect. However, my personal opinion would be to go to turf eventually down the line. Again, I'm not stating that we should do that, but that would eliminate
Right.
a lot of the issues that we're having with the
Makes
clay
sense.
surfacing.
Right.
Yeah. So when they do this, we're going to be good for like 5 to 10 years. When they
Oh.
turn this, when they turn this ball field over. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. So it's definitely a positive. It didn't have to come out of the taxpayers' funds. And Dr. Talbot, if I may, considering the Zoom that we had today and, you know, the possibility of maybe finding funding, maybe that's something that we could suggest the PIP servicing so that doesn't also fall. Okay. So yeah, so there may be another avenue where we might be able to do
Okay.
that.
And I have one more question on that. What is the expected lifespan of that surface?
Of the PIP surfacing, 10 to 15 years.
Okay.
It's really good.
All right.
All you have to do is look at your surfaces at northeast and northwest. Now, they're not impervious to weather. They're not impervious to vandalism. However, they repair very well. And again, the surfaces are much higher rated for safety than the 5-bar surfacing. Yes.
And I believe like Tanner Park, I think, has that same type of
Yes.
flooring, and that gets used way more. than
Way, way
these
more.
schools
Correct.
are.
You can see the durability that PIP surfacing has. No question.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so I think everyone has had an opportunity to ask their questions, express their opinion. And I think one of the things that we had stated that we were going to look at our calendars, so therefore we can do another meeting. Our next school board meeting is April the 15th. So maybe either before that or after that, where the focus would just be, again, a budget presentation. Everyone has the line by line, and there's some things that we've asked some additional information, so it allows the board an opportunity to look at everything and come back and make some hard decisions. So if people can look at their calendars, and we can maybe ask Emery to do a little poll into availability, and we can go from there. Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Talbot.
So as the board is considering what was presented to you on tonight, I want to just remind everyone that our Title III grant funding will no longer be in effect next year. Thus, the recommendation of the instructional coach for multilingual language learners. So remember that these students must learn language and content at the same time. Many of them enter school chronologically at an age, but performing academically below that age. It's a complex matter because services have to be coordinated effectively for multilingual learners as well as students with disabilities. The landscape has changed drastically. And the CSE has authorized 6 kindergartners to walk into the district next year. So that's going to come with teaching assistants, possibly teacher aides. We have had a number of concerns about teachers seeking help on how to address the multi-layered challenges that they are facing with students with multiple needs, thus the instructional coach for SWD. These are 2 vulnerable subgroups where we still have to push outcomes. SWD students still have to have access to grade level work, although we are differentiating their instructional programs. They have individualized reports according to their IEPs. So I want you to think about that. Our multi-level lingual population is about 22%, and our SWD population is about little less than that, but in that range. That we want you to keep in mind. There has been a lot of talk about NICET and the movement to the multiple seals, the pathways, and the one diploma. Thus, the department chairpersons to help not just craft, but to ensure the implementation of these pathways for careers, as well as for college readiness. The lead guidance counselor We're looking to coordinate all of those services because the high school will have to do heavy lifting over the next 2 to 3 years to come up to standard with what NICET is expecting, as well as what we are expecting. I do want to state that academics are improving across the district. What we have shared with you here as some of the new highlights would help to push that forward. Progress monitoring is taking place across the district. Data meetings are taking place across the district. So there are measures in place to measure the success that is taking place across the district. Our biggest two areas is multi-level language learners, multilingual language learners, and our SWDs. So if it's not the instructional coaches, we need to look at something to support those two populations of students because we are in a dire need to undergird them as well as the staff who is teaching those students. So I ask that you would just keep that in mind as you're going through the multiple needs that you've heard on tonight.
Thank you. So at this point, if there's no more questions or comments, I was going to adjourn the meeting, or does anyone have any questions, comments before?
Just out of curiosity, Ms. Johnson, does everybody have their calendar with them now? So we could look at, for example, April 13th, 14th, which are the Monday and Tuesday.
My problem is I don't have my other calendar here.
Sorry.
Sorry.
So to Mr. Dragone's point, and I know I've had this, I know I've expressed this to my fellow board members. For me, the best day always is Wednesday. That's the day I reserve for board meetings. I don't have anything else to do that day. Mondays are never good for me because I have another obligation. The other days I have some flexibility, like Tuesday and Thursday, but for me, Wednesday is a sure thing for me.
So what we're talking about, April 15th is already a board meeting, so that's that Wednesday. So we would have to look at
The first.
either, no, we're
The 8th, schools are closed on Wednesday, April 8th.
so he's looking at April 1st. April 1st is, I have to look at my calendar, and that's what I'm just saying. I don't, if we're looking at April 1st as an option, let me just look at my calendar for April 1st and Tuesday, April 14th, and then Thursday, April 16th. So that's just me. I don't have my other calendar here. So that's not that I'm, so
Right.
we'll look at
Sorry,
April,
Joe.
we'll look at April 1st. So that's what I'm just saying. I said, everyone needs to look at their calendars. Right. Yeah, everyone needs to look at the calendar. All right. And I think, so can I have a motion to adjourn at 8:38?
Motion.
Second.
Carol Seehoff is first, Chris Nair in the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 6-0. Thank you for joining us.